Hey everyone, how's it going? So today we're going to talk about the RV internet, some of the challenges we went through with trying to get set up with that, how my job very much depends on the internet, and other things that kind of involve the technology that we use, which still is a work in progress. There's some other things that we'd like to add, but we can certainly talk about how we kind of started with internet access here in an RV because it is different than at home, and then some of the tools, websites, and other options that we've put into place. All right, so first things first, let's talk about internet. So usually in a home setting, you have options like Comcast and Cox Communications, AT&T Fiber. Some places have Google Fiber. A lot of options, right? Generally speaking, most of those providers offer some form of unlimited data these days, even some tiered data, but you're talking about 300 gigs. That's relatively large in space that most people don't use. Even Netflix heavy streaming users don't use. In the RV, however, it's a little different. Coming up with a solution is somewhat challenging. For one, you're limited to cellular providers, right? So AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, those types of folks that offer, cellular service, typically like on your phones. The problem that you face with internet providers as far as cellular networks go, finding a true unlimited data network is something that's just kind of non-existent. Most of them claim unlimited data, but there's some stipulations with that, right? So unlimited data that they claim is not like it used to be. Your unlimited data is only on your device. So if you're using your iPhone or iPad or what have you, yeah, you can use unlimited data, but it comes with a cap. So usually if you use 22 gigs of data, and I'm using AT&T here as an example because that's who our current provider is for our mobile devices, they will cap you after 22 gigs of data, which really is, there's two terms, cap, and then basically the other option is they deprioritize your data connection. So what we've kind of run into in the first month of full-time RVing is that when we tether, so with AT&T, we have unlimited data and they offer the hotspot option. So we were trying to use our mobile device to tether to other things like our Apple TV, to watch Netflix and stuff like that. What we found is that we burn through 22 gigs really fast. At the end of the day, it's not very much. Specifically, if you like to watch HD video, those types of things. I work from home remotely, so I'm using a lot of data throughout the day as well. So 22 gigs kind of came and went pretty quick. What we found is that the deprioritization that AT&T puts on you when you go past that 22 gigs of data is pretty frustrating. You can go from different network speeds of like basically 40 gigs of download, which is your ability to pull in websites, watch video, those types of things, would drop us down to like maybe less than 1 megabit per second. Sometimes the best we'd see is 2 or 3. In an RV park situation, in a campground situation, if there are other users that are using AT&T for the same thing that you are, and you get deprioritized based on their connection. So they connect to the same cellular towers that we would. So if we've gone through our data, AT&T basically plucks us out and says, you've used your allotment, go to the back basically of the line when it comes to data. So we were getting pretty frustrated. On top of that, if it were a rainy day, for example, or the weather just wasn't the best, folks that would come home in the evening time would tether and use their internet just like us. So AT&T is one of the main cellular providers here in this area. I think Sprint is the other one. what would happen is basically it would be non-existent as far as watching Netflix and those types of things. It was ultimately frustrating. So just a little backstory on kind of what we encountered in the first month or so with our internet functionality. Now, with my work phone, I have a hotspot as well, and it's through AT&T. So I worked exclusively off of a hotspot for the first month we were here. Not the best solution, but it works and it gets the job done. So next I'll talk about kind of our next steps and what we did from that. Okay, so finally, Meredith had talked to some folks that she worked with back in Nashville, and one of the guys she worked with, he had done some RVing and mentioned to us a solution that we should look into for our internet. And that solution is called Cradlepoint. The cool thing about Cradlepoint, and once you do some research, and I'll show you the website and the address and all that stuff for them, the cool thing about Cradlepoint is that they're a router just like you would have in your home, but it's designated and set up to use SIM cards like you put in your phone from cellular network providers. So it is a router and a modem that has SIM card slots just like your phone does. The interesting piece about Cradlepoint, which makes them, kind of unique, they are used in the first responders, emergency responders, police officers' vehicles. Usually when they, if a police officer pulls you over and they've got their laptop in there and they, pull up your license number and those types of things online, they're typically using a device like Cradlepoint. What's cool about Cradlepoint is that it basically offers three things. It's a modem, it's a router, and it's a range extender. So the device that we've got does so many things. In fact, I haven't even cracked the surface of what the device can do. One of the things I can set it up to do is manage it remotely through the cloud. That's like super involved. Some of these devices can be connected directly into the ODB port for your vehicle, and then you can create your own Wi-Fi within your vehicle, which is crazy in itself. That's why it's very popular with the emergency responders and police officers and those types of things, because they need to be connected to the web most of the day to do their job. The other side of Cradlepoint that's pretty neat is that our device in particular uses there's two SIM card slots. So what's different than like your cell phone, for example, usually you have one cellular provider. Either you pick AT&T, Verizon, or what have you. There's one SIM card slot. Now that's changing with the new iPhones that have come out. There's support for dual SIMs, and some devices out there already do, but the network providers haven't really caught up to speed yet. So there is new technology coming that in your phones that offer dual SIM, but it's not quite ready yet. Cradlepoint does, and they have been doing it. So right now, our device has two SIM card slots. So in those SIM card slots, we can choose to have an AT&T SIM card, or the equivalent of AT&T, or a Verizon, SIM card as well. The great thing about Cradlepoint is that if we're in an area where, let's say, AT&T service is, just kind of subpar, 1 to 2 bars at best, maybe 10 megabits per second, which is still fast to do work, but video, it could be kind of choppy. But we're in an area that Verizon has better coverage, and you're talking about 40 megs of download and 5 bars of tower service. What Cradlepoint does is it has a fail-safe. So if one network is doing terrible from a performance, you automatically bounce off the other tower, the other provider, like Verizon versus AT&T, using those two since they're the largest as an example. So right now our device is, it's pretty expensive. Cradlepoint charges a pretty good premium, and I think that it goes a long way. There's proof to that. You pay for what you get a lot of times, and so far we have been extremely happy with our device. Now, our device number is the Cradlepoint AER 1600. It came highly recommended to us from Cradlepoint, who's worked with other RVers that are full-time, specifically for use with this device. In RVs, you have so many options. A lot of them are costly, some of them are simple solutions. It just depends on which route you want to go from an ease of use standpoint. Some folks elect to have the large domes. There's these large globes that are mounted on the exterior of the RV on top that work the same way as Cradlepoint is. It's just bigger, more expensive, a little more involved, obviously. But it works. They don't have to worry about it. It's already plugged in and routed through from the exterior to the interior of the RV if you wish to go that route. You're still limited to cellular networks, like I mentioned. That's the only pain point in this whole process. Then you can do something simple, just like mobile hotspots. If you want to use your phone to do it and you're fine with getting by with what you get from that, that's fine. That works too. For us, we needed something kind of in the middle, since we do some streaming and in the evening time mostly. And then for me, for work, I need to have consistent network connection. Cradlepoint fit that situation for us perfectly. And so let me show you the website, and then I'll take you to where the device is, just to kind of show you what that looks like. All right, so here's the website. Cradlepoint.com is the website. And on here, it's pretty great. The cool thing about Cradlepoint too, which can be kind of frustrating for some, is that when you go to request a device, you get partnered with someone that actually will provide you a quote and give you all the support that you possibly need. And they will reach out to you via email and kind of go with the flow there as far as what you need, and start asking you questions in terms of what solution will work best for you, which was very nice. There's a lot of information out there, and you don't want to be misled, and certainly want to have the solution that works best for you. And so what we have here is this device, the AER 1600 series. So they call it a branch networking router solution, and we get 4G LTE with a dual SIM capability. There's also ports on it for Ethernet if we had a printer or something like that. But the most important piece is it acts as a router. It broadcasts a signal just as if we were at home in a bricks and sticks home. So that is the current router we have, the AER 1600 series, like I mentioned. That's kind of what it looks like online, and I will show you what the device looks like now. Okay, so in our little office here, which is a mess, mind you, this is the device itself, the Cradlepoint, and it looks just like your regular router. There's options we can do to mount it, but I just have it sitting on the desk. You've got your dual antennas, which connect to the SIM cards that are in this slot. Right now, we're only using one SIM for AT&T. We have true unlimited data through that route, and we broadcast within our RV. We have a 5G signal, which is not true 5G yet, since most cellular providers have not provided that just yet, but it has that capability. And then it has a 2.4 gigahertz versus a 5 gigahertz, which is what the 5G actually stands for, signal. The 5G gives you faster speeds, but you have to be closer to the device. The 2.4 gigahertz has a larger, more broad signal area. So that's the device within it, with what we have. Of course, we can set it up behind a password protected encrypted situation where no one can use our Wi-Fi, and I can manage that over the cloud setup that they provide you. So that's just kind of what the device looks like. It's a plug and play. The SIM card's popped in and ready to go, and that's what it looks like. All right, so we kind of talked about our router and our internet options. Right now we're using an AT&T service. I will be looking to add a Verizon SIM card solution, hopefully very soon. Still doing some research on that to find our best option. Right now, everything works great. We get roughly 40 to 50 megabits per second, which is pretty good, all things considered. We pick up towers, not just here limited in the Virginia Beach area, but a wider range than that as well. So it works really well. Very happy with it, and hopefully it remains, consistent like that, even after we add another SIM for potentially with Verizon. So let's talk about a few other things really quick that we use in the RV. Pretty awesome setup, actually. So we have an Apple TV, and I'll show you what that looks like. Our TV is, flat screen TV with our technology that we have here in the RV. Most of it's self-contained and operates off of one unit itself. This drive unit is kind of a surround sound, Bluetooth, DVD, has an SD slot, has a auxiliary cable port, a USB port. It's kind of a all-encompassing solution, which is pretty nice actually. And we can watch DVDs, we can connect Bluetooth if we want to listen to some music, all types of things. So mode here, I can change it to aux and then Bluetooth, which is pretty great. We have a surround sound system. We have different speakers, A, B, C. A is here in the living room, B is in the master bedroom, and then C, we actually have 2 speakers mounted on the outside of the RV. If we're feeling great and want to hang out outside and have some music, maybe in the summertime, we can do that. So I've always wanted surround sound, and now I have it in an RV. Pretty nice. The other thing that we have is our Apple TV. We love our Apple TV. It gets the job done. We watch our Netflix through it, and other things like Hulu and those types of things. So it's pretty nice to have those 2 features. And basically that's about it. The only other thing that we have is our Google Home. And it has to have a consistent network connection for it to work. And that was the trouble we found before we had our Cradlepoint solution that we had. It just it didn't stay connected, so we couldn't use it. So it's pretty great actually. We play our Christmas music through it when we're at home cooking, or ask it other things like what's the weather like today. So pretty nice. Hey Google, what's the weather like in Virginia Beach today?
In Virginia Beach today, it'll be partly cloudy with a forecasted high of 45 and a low of 37. It's currently 41 and partly cloudy.
So there you go. Having that connection and being able to use technology in a small space is pretty nice.